I know that the feeling of loneliness, it's one of the most gripping emotions out there. A few years ago, when I was, as everyone sort of goes through this phase of moving through high school into college, that's like the period where you usually start to figure things out or figure out that you don't have things figured out. And for most people, it's the latter. That was what it was like for me. I sort of had some sort of direction. I knew what disgusted me and what I didn't want, and that was helpful in moving through the process. But that feeling of loneliness, and there's a distinction that I like to mention frequently, which is there's a difference between being physically alone and feeling lonely. There are many people who have learned how to enjoy solitude. And I'm not saying that solitude is the only way, that it's the best thing. But in the correct proportions, it's actually priceless to learn how to feel alive while being physically alone. But what we're talking about here is the feeling of loneliness, where it doesn't matter, it's irrelevant whether you're surrounded by 5 friends or no one, you feel lonely. For me, that's what it was. I had a group of friends. I wasn't a loser. I was like good at football, the captain of my team, MVP, good at football. I felt so lonely around my friends, so lonely. And of course it took me a bit to realize this after getting through a certain stage of partying and realizing there was this question that was on repeat within my mind, like senior year summer. And it was sort of, is this all there is? Is this what life is about? Just partying with friends consistently? So I didn't need to find myself in a 4-year university to notice something was wrong. I was surrounded by my friends, and I felt so alone. I was so lonely. So, in terms of finding answers, it hurt so much when I left that group. I said, you know what? Every time I leave this group, I feel almost worse than when I got there. And just reflecting on that, I realized something has to change. I don't know if this is the right move to just sort of like block some people and do my own thing and just commit to something. For me, what I committed to was the stock market, but that really isn't the essence of this idea. What matters is that if you feel lonely, what this video is about, what this life is about, is realizing that that emotion is not a bad thing. It is just something guiding you, pulling you toward a new evolution of yourself. And a quote that I love in relation to this topic is, sometimes your life is going to feel worse before it's getting better. Sometimes it's going to feel worse while it's getting better. Because when I step back and remove myself from that old environment, it felt worse than that actual feeling of loneliness. I went from feeling lonely to feeling lonely and being physically alone. But in that period, things were actually initiating. So it's not that this is so simple. It's not that it's complicated either. There's just a lot of nuances. And what I would say, if you're feeling lonely, you sort of have to make a distinction. And that distinction essentially starts with, is what I'm doing right now something I can see myself doing forever and actually love myself and respect myself if I'm doing this certain thing forever? Because honestly, here we are right now. I'm speaking to the camera. This has been years in the making, getting myself to figure out this is something I like doing. My younger self, the lonely self, would have never predicted that I'd be here talking to a camera and absolutely loving it. So that's the point right there, is if you're feeling lonely, ask yourself that question. Is what I'm doing, is the context of my life right now, am I fulfilled? Is this something I could see myself doing years down the road? Because if it's not, it's not a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing because you're being guided toward a new action, a new version of yourself. And more often than not, pain, tough, challenging, low frequency emotions are going to be that guiding light which pulls you out of what you're not supposed to be doing. So what I've found is the universe is tricky, and that there isn't really good or bad, but there is more so many different degrees of perception. And low frequency emotion, pain, anger, lust, that loneliness, fear, these emotions, I don't recommend that you just do nothing with them. My point is, those emotions are there for a reason. And if you will listen to those emotions and do your best to seek solutions to figure out what is the lesson, what is the essence of why I'm feeling this emotion. See, when I utter that word why, I'm not a fan of it. So maybe I can reframe for a more valuable question. What are these emotions teaching me? Are these emotions a result of my actions? Okay, well, what specific action frequently, consistently brings me into an emotion of anger, fear, confusion, or any of that low frequency stuff? Because then you can start to make some connections, and this is the kernel of what has changed my life, is starting to see bigger, but also to see zoomed in. But what I mean there is that the life, I've heard this from Alan Watts, life is not like you hit the pool table and the billiard balls go everywhere. It's more like a web. It's more like every single thing is interconnected with each other. So that's what I'm getting at with actions and feedback and your low energy. If you feel a certain way consistently after doing a certain action, see, this is up to you, right? It comes down to you determining how you want to feel. And that's the beauty of the game, is that once you crack through the limiting beliefs and the nonsense, the underdeveloped ego nonsense, you start to realize you're much more powerful than you previously thought you were. And that is essentially, it's like unlocking some new area in the video game. Like, the map is gray. You know there's something out there. Well, you have an itch, right? You don't know, but there's something inside that makes you feel as if the world's bigger, but it's gray and you don't know about it yet. This is what that feels like when you start to pay more attention to how you create your own feelings and your actions lead to your thoughts, and you can pretty much choose your thoughts once you become more observant. That's like unlocking that new map in the video game, the new area of the world. It changes everything. And so what's the quote? Your frequency is what you frequently see. So in terms of energy, in terms of how your actions give you feedback in the vehicle of emotions, your frequency is what you frequently see. So the more that your actions are aligned with high energy, meditation, clean nutrition, playing with the dogs, playing with your children. And you know what's interesting? Even some of those actions, if your mind is stuck, you can turn beautiful actions into not enjoyable things. But what I'm getting at here is there are going to be certain actions which are irrefutably going to bring you into high energy. What are those actions for you? For me, it started with exercise. I remember being a kid, my arms, my elbows, my knees were always scraped, and it was great. All I did was run around, ride bikes, play kickball, just reckless child, running around playing constantly. And I remember there was a point in my life where everything began to change. And this was the point where I started to think more. And the ego began to develop. and the fears of the ego, the insecurities of the ego began to develop. So the essence of all this is, you really have to figure out what are the actions which warm your heart up. What are the actions which irrefutably raise your energy and create you into a better version of yourself? So as exercise carried on for me, it switched from the form of playing aimlessly like a kid does to weightlifting and playing football. And now I've replaced football with jiu-jitsu, but weightlifting is still that foundation, and boxing. So whether it's exercise for me, or painting and artistic crafts and pottery and sculpting and drawing, or like whatever it is for you, to get out of loneliness, you have to be doing some sort of action which irrefutably raises your energy. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. There are going to be certain actions where you go into it. You know, your girlfriend something could have happened. You got cheated on, you crashed your car, someone robbed your house, and you get into that action and it all vanishes. Now, I'm not saying you won't have thoughts and come back to that, but what I am saying is you've reached the flow state through that action. And the more frequently you touch with the flow state, the more that the universe is going to guide you, and that you're going to be in touch with your heart, your intuition, and you're not going to have to overthink about things, but it will just kind of come and flow to you. And what I gotta say here is, don't believe me. I could be uttering pure nonsense. I'm not, but don't believe me. All I would like you to do is just come at this with an open mind and consider, maybe this dude isn't lying. Maybe this dude is sort of sharing something profound that absolutely switched around what the quality of his life was. Because that is the story here. Nothing has changed astronomically. Like, sure, I'm making more money than I used to. Sure, there's some things that have changed. Bottom line is, I'm still in the same house. I'm still the same guy. Still have the same heart. Still doing the same habits. I'm still me. But my whole life has changed ever since I've became more aware to the fact that I can direct how I feel through my actions, through my intention. And if I'm going to continue to create these videos, but if this is something you love and you want to take a little bit of self-education, go down this route a bit by yourself, The Power of Intention by Dr. Wayne Dyer. A beautiful book that'll get you started on this route. And again, no one can do this stuff for you. Well, I didn't say that before. That's just something I say a lot. Nobody can do the work for you. And I think that's it. You know, you can look at that from two different angles. One angle could be like, oh man, I wish someone could do the work for me. Another angle could be, wow, it's kind of powerful how much my actions, my choices, how much control, see, I don't like that word, I was looking for a different word than control, but how much I can direct my life. Now, of course, today I walked out my door and my cat killed the chipmunk. Chipmunk had his mouth full, you know, when they got their cheeks big and full. My heart hurt for a moment. And then I sort of immediately had to reroute and say, sometimes the universe can be raw and rough, and what matters is the chipmunk is not in pain. And hopefully the chipmunk went into a sort of shock state as soon as possible so that it didn't feel the pain. I don't know why I brought that up. But we're talking about loneliness, and we've gone far, but you don't have to feel lonely. You don't. And that's why I'm making this video, because there might be someone like the younger Justin who's feeling lonely right now, and all I want to tell you is, I promise you it can get better. I'm not going to say it just magically gets better. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the work. And practically, most practically, if you want something detailed to start putting in the work and feeling better about your days, I would simply say, this may not be for everyone, but for me, personally, ever since I started waking up earlier, 3 a.m., my days feel better. So if you can start to push your wake up time earlier, you wake up on point, you know what actions to get into, you don't touch the phone. Don't touch the phone in the morning. You wake up early, you get into some exercise, some writing, something creative that gets you into that flow state I was mentioning, it's inevitable that your days are going to get better. And then throughout your days, I promise you. See, I'm on Twitter, 10K on Twitter, on social media, clearly. But I don't use the phone. I don't use the phone for the distractions, because I realize that's one of the biggest pain points in my life that creates the loneliness, that comparison that comes through social media. So I'm not saying don't learn from others. I'm not saying don't use social media. I'm saying if you're going to use social media, use it intentionally in the middle of your day after you've done some good writing, some cleaning, some exercise, some business. Then you can go on social media. But that's the key to starting your day right. You get off the phone. Get off the phone. So to anyone who's feeling lonely, you got this, right? You got this. It won't stay this way, and you truly have a lot of power in creating what you want to feel and what you want to become. You choose what you become. I promise you that. If this has brought you into a better state of mind, I do work one-on-one with individuals. Soon I'm going to have to put on a wait list because I can't take on too many people at once. So I have a couple client spots left, and if you're interested, I'll have my email in the description. Just shoot me an email with like the keyword session. Tell me a little bit about what your main goal is so that I can understand that. And then I'm willing to give anyone who's interested in one-on-one work a free high energy breakdown session where we'll sort of just create the structure. We'll get you your vision set out. We'll uncover anything that may be slowing you down right now, and we'll give you an action plan. We'll create that together so that you're going the right way. I appreciate you, and the one thing I would love to hear, if you could give me a reply down below and we could interact. Let me know what was the most valuable thing that you heard in this video. Nonetheless, I appreciate you, and it will get better. It will get better. Have a good one.